I don't think Marquise Brown is slowing down at all. I think if he's in a system where he's, targeted a lot, like he could potentially be in Kansas City, I think it could be really good for him and maybe even be, the beginning of a long relationship if he has a really good season and the Chiefs want to bring him back and have the money to do so. Welcome back to the most professional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Zuckerberg. Here with my co-host today, Aaron. Go and say hi, Aaron.
If you like our content, go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
Other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So, in this video, we'll be taking a look at the Kansas City Chiefs' most recent free agency acquisition. Well, kind of. Hollywood Brown coming over from the Arizona Cardinals to join this very depleted receiving core. Hopefully, provide some more consistency deep down the field than MVS was able to provide the past 2 seasons. And maybe, who knows, maybe he has a breakout year with Mahomes, the first quarterback that maybe not quarterback, but first offense where he's actually going to be um, seeing targets more often than he's going to be blocking for running backs, which will be nice because typically he's been on teams where all they do is run the ball, and the Chiefs throw it more than anybody in the league. So, gotta be a good situation for a receiver to come into. But Aaron, what are your thoughts on Hollywood Brown, the newest Kansas City Chief?
I mean, it's a big acquisition. Whether he's actually the one or the two um, doesn't really make a difference to me. Just having somebody on the opposite side of Rashi Rice get some more help for that receiving core, and it's just going to help Travis Kelsey continue doing his thing. I think we kind of saw defenses were able to kind of lock him up later in the year last year just because they knew that some of the struggles for the receivers that we had.
Right. Yeah, and we like obviously we had a big drop issue. I think I saw somewhere that as catchable balls go, like targets that are actually, within the realm of catchability, not, thrown 10 yards over his head or whatever. I think he had like a 4% drop percentage or something like that. That may be way too low. It may have been higher than that. But regardless, I know
I saw
he's
3%.
you saw 3% somewhere? Okay, so maybe I'm not crazy.
Hmm.
Regardless of what it is, anything, that even close to that low is far and above what we had last year with MBS and Kadarius Tony. The problems we had with
50%,
with that,
75%.
oh shit, felt like 100% sometimes, just till the playoffs. But yeah, I think he's going to be a huge, huge addition to the receiving core. Um, I know back whenever he had that 1,000 yard season with the Ravens, we all thought that was kind of going to be the beginning of a breakout for him because he was kind of like the number one target on that team. And then for whatever reason, I guess the Ravens just weren't gonna want to pay him when that time came because they ended up shipping him out to Arizona where he teamed back up with his old college teammate Kyler Murray from Oklahoma down there and had a few seasons uh, for his standards, probably a little disappointing, but I think a lot of that had to do with the injury issues, specifically with Kyler Murray the past few years. And whenever him and Kyler Murray were connecting, they were connecting on some big plays. He had, I think it was one 700 yard season, one 709 yard season, and then this past year he had almost 600. So not crazy, yards jumping off the stat sheet or anything. But at the same time, that was on 67 and 51 receptions, respectively. So that means he's, over 10 yards a catch his entire time in Arizona. He was the same in Baltimore. So I don't think it's a matter of him like slowing down. And then he's missed like 7, 8 games the past 2 seasons as well with injury, I guess. So or yeah, maybe other stuff. I'm not sure. So I don't think it's a talent issue with him the past couple seasons of him like falling off a cliff or anything like that. I think more so it's just been him not getting consistent opportunities um, because of either injuries to him or Kyler Murray. And, Arizona didn't exactly have great backup quarterback play. Um, the only good one they potentially had was Josh Dobbs, and they ended up shipping him up to Minnesota. So, uh, yeah, I don't think Marquise Brown is slowing down at all. I think if he's in a system where he's, targeted a lot, like he could potentially be in Kansas City, I think it could be really good for him and maybe even be, the beginning of a long relationship if he has a really good season and the Chiefs want to bring him back and have the money to do so.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the big key is if they have the money to do so. If he
Right.
comes out and has a really good year, um, probably gonna be a little hard to sign him back. Granted, who knows? I think we're all kind of assuming that if we bring Snead back, we won't be able to repay him at the end of the year,
Yeah, no, I don't
and
think
that he's
so.
gonna end up going and getting a massive contract somewhere else. So we could use that money for that, but we've got a lot of big contracts as of right now, and a lot of guaranteed money.
We do, and we have a lot of guys coming up that we have to pay, specifically on the defensive side with like McDuffie and Bolton. So the bill's going to come due eventually. The Chiefs can only kick the money down the road for so long before it ends up coming back to bite them. So I do see your point there. Uh, I don't. So with the acquisition of Hollywood, I've kind of started to change my thoughts on what position we should take with the first pick that we have this year in the first round. Um, because I think the receiver depth is still going to be there for us later in the draft. Uh, And I think you mentioned one position last week that I didn't even think about it up until you had said
Tackle.
something. Left tackle, or both tackles, really, I guess. Um, we need to do something about that, and there's a lot of good tackle talent in this class as well. A lot of good offensive line talent in general. Um, so I could definitely see us maybe going and grabbing one of the big guys. What are kind of your thoughts on whether or not this changes the Chiefs' thoughts on drafting a wide receiver early?
Um, I don't want it to.
Yeah,
I still think it's rare to have a receiver class this deep. So if a good one's
right.
available, take him because we're not going to be picking again until late second round,
Hmm.
assuming we don't trade up. Um, I think it all is just going to kind of depend on how the draft goes. There could be like a really early run on the tackles, and that would leave a lot of the good receivers there. There could also be a really early run on receivers, and that would leave a lot of the O line there.
Right.
So I think it just kind of depends on what everybody in front of us ends up doing.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking too. I've got a feeling that it's really going to be dependent on, which I mean, I guess this goes for every draft ever. It's dependent on the teams ahead of us and what they take. Because, like you said, there's a good volume of talent in both categories. It's just a matter of what's going to be more available come the 32nd pick. So I could definitely see us still getting a receiver for sure. Front office seems to really know how to figure out those cap gymnastics. They really understand how to get under the cap when they need to. They know how to finagle money. They know how to push it around. They know how to make stuff work, and that's why I'm not really worried when it comes to these big contracts we're handing out to guys.
They are very good at the cap gymnastics and keeping the guys that they need to, knowing which guys to kind of keep around and which guys they can let go. So as far as that goes, I trust them completely.
Yeah, yeah. What are your
Other than the Tyreek one, I mean that one kind of stunk, but
Yeah,
it worked out.
yeah. I mean, it worked out for us for sure. I think he's having some regrets nowadays, and you can kind of. He may not ever admit that, but I do think he misses playing in Kansas City. I think he misses having, that playoff success that they're not finding in Miami his first 2 years, at least. So, I don't know. While our receiving core definitely got worse when he left, the defense improving like it did kind of seemed to compensate for that. So I'm not. And speaking of defense, Derek Nottie also ended up getting re-signed. We didn't mention it last week, but I did kind of try to put the edits in the video. Tershawn Wharton re-signed as well. So two out of those three D tackles I wanted us to bring back are back. Mike Dana's still out there, so who knows what could happen with him. And then, as far as I know, that safety Mike Edwards I talked about last week is also still available. So, what do you think about the defense and basically being the same unit we had this past year when we were a top five, team?
Um, if I remember correctly, I think I remember seeing Edwards took a visit somewhere else. Um, I would be kind of surprised if we ended up bringing him back. That's probably a
Yeah.
position we maybe upgrade in the draft. Um, because Dion Bush, we re-signed him, right? And
Hmm.
he's not a chicken, so we've already got kind of that veteran guy back there as well as Justin Reed.
Yeah. And
So
then
if we could
Brian
just bring
Cook coming
in
back.
kind of a young guy, yeah, if we bring in a young guy, um, for a season and just kind of get him experience here and there, have him learn from two uh, really solid guys, then I think we'd be in good shape.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I'm not too worried about the secondary right now. I do expect us to get a cornerback as well, because obviously I think we all know that Snead's gone. If not this year, then next year. So we need to start replacing him, and it's better to start early than late. So I'd expect us to grab a couple D backs probably, probably one really late and one maybe in like the fourth. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe grab a running back really late either, because we did lose McKinnon, we did lose Clyde. It's really just Pacheco right now back there, to my knowledge. So we need somebody else to be in the backfield. Maybe Cody Schrader. Maybe Cody Schrader. That'd be pretty cool.
I'd like that. I mean,
Yeah.
nice kind of workhorse back.
Yeah, it wouldn't really be a change up much from Pacheco because they both are pretty similar styles, I feel like. But it is what it is.
Pacheco can kind of catch out of the backfield though. Traders, that's not really his
Yeah.
specialty.
Yeah.
He's more a grinded out kind of guy.
Well, and it could potentially keep Pacheco from getting as many bumps and bruises in between the tackles because he gets beat up in there whenever he gets 20 carries a game. Like we've seen to where he can get some pretty nasty hits, and he's not afraid to run right into guys full speed. So
Oh, he takes licks.
yeah, he takes hits harder than I've seen most running backs take. So he is not afraid of it, and that's a little concerning as a fan. So, but I don't really think I have anything else. Do you have anything else, or I think that'll do it then for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. So, Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Circlebark Burkle, here with my host today, Aaron. Go and say bye, Aaron.
Bye.
All right, please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Other than that, deuces.